For 7 long days, the colony of Astra 9 floated in complete darkness, a darkness so heavy that even hope felt like a memory. The power was gone, the shields were broken, and the communication towers lay twisted like broken bones across the cold ground. Outside the bunker, alien raiders known as the Vaughn Swarm circled the colony like hungry wolves waiting for the last candle to die. Every few minutes, their ship lights flickered across the clouds, reminding the trapped humans that the end was close, uncomfortably close, like breath on their neck. Inside the main bunker, people sat pressed against the walls, mothers wrapping arms around shaking children, old citizens staring at the floor as if waiting for their final moment. No jokes, no whispers, no strength left to pretend. Everyone knew the truth inside their heart, even if nobody said it aloud. No rescue was coming. Earth was too far, fleets were fighting other wars, and Astra 9 was forgotten like a leaf in a storm. The bunker smelled of fear, sweat, and hopelessness. Someone cried. Someone prayed. Someone simply stared into the dark, waiting. Commander Lena Ward stood near the blast door, one hand pressed against her bleeding shoulder. She didn't even remember when she got the wound. Everything in the last days had blurred into one long nightmare: screams, alarms, fires, collapsing buildings. But she still stood, because someone had to. Her eyes moved to the corner where children crouched behind supply crates, their small faces pale, lips trembling as they tried to swallow their sobs. Their tiny breaths came uneven, too fast, like their lungs were afraid the next one wouldn't come. Lena whispered to herself, "Please hold on, just a little more," but even she didn't believe it. Her officers stood near her, dirty, exhausted, uniforms torn, but still holding their rifles like duty was the last thing keeping them alive. One officer leaned close and whispered, his voice shaking so much he almost choked on the words, "We're out of time. If the Vaughn breach the bunker, that's it for all of us." Lena closed her eyes. She imagined the Vaughn claws tearing through steel, dragging humans out, ending everything. She imagined the children screaming. She imagined the colony falling completely silent. Her heart felt like it was being squeezed from inside. She opened her eyes again, refusing to let tears fall. Commanders don't cry in front of their people. Not in the final hour. Then suddenly the alarms, those loud, constant alarms that had screamed non-stop for 7 days, just stopped. Not slowly, not glitching, not fading. They went silent in one instant. A silence so deep, so unnatural, that every person inside the bunker froze. Even the children stopped breathing. The silence pressed against the ears like thick fog, making the air feel heavier, colder, almost wrong. The lights on the wall blinked once and died. Someone whispered, "Why? Why did everything stop?" Commander Lena felt the hair on her neck stand up. Silence in a war zone was never a good sign. It meant something happened. Something big. Something no one wanted. Outside the bunker walls, something even stranger happened. The Vaughn ships, those giant armed monsters that had circled the colony for days, suddenly stopped moving. They hung in the air like statues, frozen in place, engines going completely quiet. Their red scanning lights dimmed slowly, as if fear touched them too. The ground beneath the bunker trembled. A low vibration ran through the metal floor like the beating heart of a giant creature waking from sleep. Dust fell from the ceiling in soft, eerie waves. People covered their heads, children screamed softly, officers held their rifles close, waiting for the worst. Lena raised her head slowly, listening. This tremor wasn't like explosions. It wasn't Vaughn weapons. It wasn't anything she had felt before. It felt controlled. Heavy. Ancient. Powerful. Something massive moved behind the blackout clouds above Astra 9, something so huge that its shadow swallowed entire sections of the sky. The clouds twisted as if being pushed apart by invisible hands. People inside the bunker felt it, an enormous presence, heavy like a mountain, silent like a predator waiting to strike. It was too big for any colony ship, too large for any rescue vessel, too slow moving to be a missile, too quiet to be an alien war cruiser. What is that?" someone whispered. A little boy pointed at the ceiling and whispered in a trembling voice, "Mom, something is coming." Inside the bunker, a single word spread through humans like a cold breeze. "Is that human?" But nobody wanted false hope. Not after 7 days of death. Then every Vaughn frequency cracked alive with static. Broken, Glitching sounds echoed into the bunker through damaged speakers. For a second, it felt like a ghost was speaking from the sky. Then the static cleared. A voice, not alien, not mechanical, rang out across every channel. A human voice. Cold. Deep. Calm. Terrifying in its confidence. This is the Terran warship Obsidian Dawn. Back away from the colony. Every survivor lifted their head at the same time. Every heart stopped beating for a second. Because no one had heard that name in years. Because no human ship should be here. Because no rescue should have been possible. Tears rolled down the cheeks of people who had already accepted death. Children stared wide-eyed, not fully understanding, but feeling hope for the first time in days. Officers looked at each other like they just woke from a nightmare. Commander Lena felt her knees weaken. Not from fear. Not from exhaustion. From relief so powerful it nearly broke her. Outside the bunker, the sky split open as the massive shape revealed itself. Black metal, endless armor plates, wings spreading like the shadow of a titan. The ship had no markings except one symbol glowing faintly on its hull, the broken star of the Terran fleet. The Obsidian Dawn, Earth's lost warship, had risen from the void. And the Vaughn, the hunters, the killers, the monsters who had trapped Astra 9 for a week, finally felt fear. For the first time since darkness fell, every human inside the bunker felt something warm spread through their chest. Hope. Real hope. The kind that comes only when a ghost returns from the dead and stands between you and the monsters. The Obsidian Dawn hovered above Astra 9 like a giant shadow carved out of midnight, its hull absorbing the weak starlight until even the clouds seemed afraid to move around it. For a long moment, nobody inside the bunker spoke. Nobody blinked. Nobody even dared breathe too loudly. It felt unreal, unbelievable, like a story told by old soldiers sitting around a fire. But this time, the story came alive in the sky outside, humming with power that made the air tremble. Commander Lena slowly stepped forward, her boots dragging across the dusty bunker floor. Her heart thudded painfully in her chest, not from fear but from something deeper, something she had almost forgotten existed, hope mixed with disbelief. The officers stood behind her, gripping their rifles, eyes fixed upward as if they were watching a miracle unfold inch by inch. Children pushed their small faces between the adults' legs, trying to see something, anything, that would prove the human voice wasn't a dream. Outside, the Vaughn swarm reacted first. Their engines flickered back to life in sharp, panicked bursts. The aliens didn't move like predators anymore, they moved like prey that suddenly understood it had stepped into the shadow of something far more dangerous. The Vaughn flagship shook violently as its systems rebooted, alarms blaring across its decks. Vaughn commanders shouted at their crews, claws slamming into control panels as they tried to understand the impossible situation. No human ship should have reached this far. No human warship should have crossed the dead zones. No human rescue should have been possible. One Vaughn captain screamed into his comms, his voice cracked with fear, human warship detected, impossible class, unknown model, powers unmatched, retreat. Retreat now before it awac. The message cut off. Not because the signal failed. Not because the human ship attacked. But because something heavier than fear hit every Vaughn at the same time. The Obsidian Dawn powered up. It didn't roar to life like other ships. It didn't blast engines or shout its strength. It simply vibrated with a low hum so deep it shook pebbles on the ground and pressed on lungs inside the bunker. The vibration crawled into bones, into the walls, into the sky. Lights flickered across the dread carrier's hull, lines of energy unfolding like veins waking after long sleep. The armor plates shifted, rows upon rows sliding apart with perfect mechanical grace, revealing dark crystalline structures beneath them that glowed faintly with blue fire. Commander Lena whispered, "That's no normal warship." Old engineer Marcus, who had once worked in Terran shipyards, felt his hands trembling uncontrollably. He didn't blink as he stared upward, his breath shallow and shaking. No, this ship was never meant for normal war. This ship was made for the day the galaxy turns against humanity. His voice cracked and he covered his mouth. I never thought I'd live to see it. The bunker doors rattled as the sky brightened with a rising wave of energy. The Obsidian Dawn cast a light so cold and sharp that even the shadows looked frozen. Children shielded their eyes. Mothers held them tighter. Officers stared in awe, unable to look away even if terror clawed at them. A sudden message echoed through every human device in the bunker, even the ones previously dead. Screens flickered on with static. Radios buzzed. Hologram pads glowed weakly. The Obsidian Dawn was connecting directly to the colony's broken systems, reviving them for a single purpose. A new voice came through, a softer, calmer voice this time, but still carrying strength like thunder wrapped in velvet. To the people of Astra 9, hold your position. We have arrived. Tears streamed down faces instantly. The bunker dissolved into muffled cries of relief. Some people laughed through their sobs. Others collapsed to their knees, clutching each other like they'd finally woken up from a nightmare that refused to end. Commander Lena pressed a hand against her heart because it felt like her chest couldn't contain all the emotions crashing through her at once. Above the colony, the Vaughn fleet began firing wildly, their shots desperate and unfocused. Beams of red energy streaked across the sky, slamming into the Obsidian Dawn's armor, and disappearing like raindrops hitting a mountain. The ship didn't shake. Didn't shift. Didn't even acknowledge the attack. The Vaughn fired again. And again. And again. Nothing. Inside their flagship, panic turned into chaos. Orders became screams. Officers fought over controls. Engines overheated. Shields overloaded. They had fought humans before, but this wasn't a ship. It was a force of nature wearing metal skin. The Obsidian Dawn responded not with fury, but with silence. The silence was colder than any roar. It felt like judgment. Like a warning. Like a storm taking a breath before tearing the sky apart. A single beam formed beneath the warship's core, gathering light that bent space around it. The beam pulsed once, as if testing its own strength. The ground trembled so hard that dust rose in clouds inside the bunker. Marcus swallowed hard and whispered, "That's the gravity lance." Dear God, they said it was only a prototype. Without a sound, without a flash, without even the hint of a normal explosion, the Obsidian Dawn fired one thin beam across the sky. The beam cut through space like a line drawn by an angry god, slicing through 23 Vaughn ships in one perfect sweep. The Vaughn vessels didn't explode. They didn't break apart. They simply dissolved into fine dust, scattered by the breeze like ashes from a dying fire. The bunker went silent. The colony went silent. Even the Vaughn frequencies went silent. Commander Lena pressed her hand against the bunker glass, breath fogging the surface. Her eyes widened, heart hammering. It removed them like they were nothing. The Obsidian Dawn sent another message, voice now steady, calm, almost gentle. Astra 9, your suffering ends today. You held the line. Now let us finish what you began. This time, even Lena couldn't stop her tears. After 7 days of pain, fear, hunger, darkness, after believing they were forgotten, someone had come. Someone powerful. Someone human. And for the first time in a week, Lena believed they might live. The first strike from the Obsidian Dawn still hung in the air like a scar across the sky, a line of light that refused to fade, a reminder that something far beyond normal human technology had awakened. The dust of the destroyed Vaughn ships floated like dull silver mist, drifting through the upper atmosphere as if the universe itself mourned what just happened, or warned what was coming next. Inside the bunker, nobody moved. Shock held every person in place, freezing them between fear and awe, unsure whether to cheer or pray. Commander Lena stood like a statue, breath shallow, her fingers trembling as she pressed them against the bunker window. She saw small pieces of Vaughn hull metal falling from the sky like burned leaves. She saw the massive shadow of the Obsidian Dawn stretch across the ground, long enough to cover entire districts. She saw the children behind her finally lift their heads, eyes wide, faces glowing faintly with the reflection of the warship's cold blue light. For so long, those children had stared only at darkness. Now they stared at something brighter, something impossible. Outside, the remaining Vaughn ships tried to regroup. Their formations broke apart, flashing red signals in panic. Some tried to flee, some tried to hide behind shattered buildings, some turned their weapons toward the Obsidian Dawn again, as if refusing to believe the power they witnessed. The Vaughn had pride. Brutal pride. They had destroyed entire human colonies before. They had never run from humans. But now, they did not face humans. They faced a myth. Deep inside the Obsidian Dawn, Unseen crews moved like shadows between glowing consoles, calm in the middle of chaos. Their voices echoed through silent hallways, steady and controlled, every word a blade. The commander's silhouette stood at the center of the bridge, hands behind his back, unmoving, eyes locked on the terrified Vaughn ships scattering like insects beneath a crushing boot. A soft voice echoed through the ship's internal comms. Target signatures recalibrated. Vaughn vessels attempting escape. Orders, Commander. The answer came slowly, quietly, with no anger, no emotion, just the cold power of a decision that would change the fate of Astra 9. No escape. End the threat. The Obsidian Dawn moved. It didn't fly like a normal vessel. It didn't accelerate with noise or thrust. It simply shifted, sliding across the sky as though the distance meant nothing, appearing above fleeing Vaughn ships in less than a second. The ship didn't chase, it arrived. Reality folded around it like cloth around a blade. Each movement was graceful, terrifying, silent. Inside the bunker, a young officer whispered, "How is it this fast? It doesn't even follow physics." Marcus, the old engineer, shook his head, eyes fixed on the sky. "It doesn't follow physics we understand. That ship, it's using technologies Earth never admitted existed." As if responding to Marcus's words, the Obsidian Dawn lowered one of its side cannons, smooth, black, elegant, glowing with faint blue energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. The weapon didn't look deadly. It looked beautiful, like art made for destruction. The cannon fired. This time there was sound, not loud, not thunderous, but a deep, vibrating hum that rattled bones and made teeth ache. A ripple of energy spread across the sky like a stone hitting water. The ripple touched a cluster of Vaughn ships, and every ship in that wave collapsed inward, crushed by invisible force, folding into themselves like paper balls smashed by unseen hands. No flames. No debris. Just silence. The children inside the bunker clung to each other, unsure whether to cry or cheer. Their small hearts trembled from both fear and amazement. Commander Lena felt a strange tightness in her chest, a mix of gratitude and sorrow. Because even though the Vaughn deserved destruction, watching entire ships get erased so effortlessly felt unreal, almost cruel. But this was survival. This was war. And someone had finally chosen to fight for Astra 9. The Vaughn tried one last tactic. They gathered their remaining ships into a tight circle, forming a shield wall around their flagship. It was a desperate move. A sign they knew they were facing something they could not defeat. Alien voices screamed orders across open channels. Protect the flagship. Fire everything we have. Disable the human warship. Hundreds of red plasma bolts shot toward the Obsidian Dawn at once. The sky looked like it was raining fire. Commander Lena braced for impact. Everyone in the bunker covered their heads. The firestorm hit the Obsidian Dawn's hull. And vanished. Every plasma bolt dimmed into nothing before even touching the armor, absorbed by a shimmering field that appeared for only a split second. The ship didn't even flinch. Lena felt her heart skip. It didn't take any damage. Marcus whispered, "That is the Aegis layer. A shield made of bent space. Nothing solid can touch it." The Obsidian Dawn finally responded to the Vaughn's attack. But it didn't fire. It spoke. Through every Vaughn communication channel, every speaker, every piece of damaged tech inside the bunker, the commander's voice echoed with chilling calm. "Your brutality ends today." Inside the Vaughn flagship, panic turned into raw terror. Captains barked orders. Alarm lights flashed. Power cores overheated. Some Vaughn soldiers threw down their weapons and began to flee deeper into their ship, knowing nothing could save them. The Obsidian Dawn shifted its wings, massive armored plates unfolding like the wings of a dark angel. Blue light coursed through the gaps like flowing rivers of silent electricity. Then, the ship charged a weapon at its core. The sky dimmed. Clouds spiraled downward. The ground shook like the colony was caught in the heartbeat of a sleeping titan. Commander Lena felt the pressure in her lungs. It felt like the air itself had weight. The children covered their ears, sensing something massive was about to happen. The weapon released its energy. A single pulse. Silent. Bright. Beautiful. When the light faded, the entire Vaughn shield formation was gone. Not damaged. Gone. Only the flagship remained, drifting helplessly, engines failing, hull cracked open, alarms echoing through its wounded metal frame. Inside the bunker, nobody spoke. They couldn't. They had just watched a human-made weapon do something no alien empire could have dreamed of stopping. Commander Lena whispered, voice trembling, "Whoever commands that ship, they're not saving us out of duty. They're saving us out of something deeper. Hope. Rage. Loyalty. Memory." Whatever it was, the Obsidian Dawn was fighting like Astra 9 was home. And the Vaughn were about to learn the final truth. The Vaughn flagship drifted like a wounded beast in the sky, its metallic body glowing with cracks that leaked sparks and escaping gases. What once looked like an unstoppable predator now looked fragile, broken, shaking under the weight of a terror it never expected to face. Inside the bunker, the survivors stared at the massive ship slowly rotating above the colony, every turn exposing the damage the Obsidian Dawn had carved into it. Entire decks were missing. Armor plates hung loose like torn skin. Warning lights flashed across the hull like the last heartbeat of a dying creature. Commander Lena could barely breathe. The destruction she had just witnessed wasn't normal warfare. It wasn't even the brutal efficiency of human military force. It was something beyond that, something refined, perfected, sharpened with cold purpose. She pressed her hand against the bunker window, feeling the vibration in the glass as the Obsidian Dawn hovered silently before the crippled flagship. It felt like watching a giant judge a criminal before giving the final sentence. Inside the Vaughn flagship, panic turned to madness. Screams echoed through their comms channels. Officers fought each other for escape pods. Engineers clawed at controls, trying to reroute power to dying engines. Some Vaughn curled on the floor, shaking violently, as if accepting their fate. The Vaughn had known fear before, but not fear like this. Not fear that crawled into their bones and told them death had already chosen them. A Vaughn commander's final broadcast crackled through the bunker speakers, voice filled with terror and disbelief. "Human, Warship, carries forbidden weaponry. They were not meant to possess such power. Retreat, retreat." The message ended with a sharp scream and static. Silence followed, heavy and suffocating, as if the galaxy itself took a breath and held it. Children clung to their mothers. Officers stared at their rifles with trembling hands. Even the bravest felt something cold inside their chest. What kind of ship had Earth created? And what had been awakened inside it? A quiet thud ran through the ground as the Obsidian Dawn slowly descended, wings folding inward with a slow elegance that made the ship look almost alive. Its metal plates locked into place, energy veins pulsing like the slow heartbeat of a titan preparing for the final strike. The sky darkened around it, not because of smoke, but because the warship seemed to dim the world around it by its mere presence. Marcus, the old engineer, stepped forward, his face pale as moonlight. His voice cracked as he whispered loud enough for Lena to hear, "I've seen fragments of rumors, blueprints hidden in archives, whispers from exiled scientists. The Obsidian Dawn wasn't destroyed, it was erased. They didn't lose it, they HID it." Lena turned to him sharply. "Why? Why hide something that could save millions?" Marcus swallowed hard. "Because it carries something Earth feared. Something they couldn't control. Something they prayed never wakes." The bunker air grew colder as the Obsidian Dawn shifted its core toward the Vaughn flagship. Lena felt a pressure in her chest. Something like what? Marcus didn't answer at first. His eyes drifted toward the warship's glowing central spine, blue light running through it like a river of power too ancient and too great for human hands. When he finally spoke, his voice shook. The ship wasn't built around a weapon, the ship was built around a person. Lena's stomach dropped. "A person? You mean?" "Yes." Marcus nodded slowly, fear trembling through his words. The Obsidian Dawn was designed to sync with a commander whose mind could handle impossible-scale warfare. Someone rare. Someone dangerous. Someone who could unlock the ship's full potential. "But that would destroy a normal human," Lena said, voice hushed. Marcus nodded again. "Exactly. That's why Earth exiled the ship. They were afraid of the commander it chose." A chill rippled through the bunker. People glanced at each other with wide, terrified eyes. The idea of a human so powerful that even Earth feared them, it felt unreal, like legend. Yet here they were, watching that legend tear apart an entire alien fleet. The obsidian dawn opened a glowing rift beneath its hull, energy swirling like a storm of light. The Vaughn flagship tried moving, engines sputtering pathetically, unable to escape. The dread carrier locked onto it with a targeting beam so thin it looked like a single strand of hair glowing in the dark. A deep voice, calm, cold, final, echoed through every human device once again. Vaughn flagship. Surrender is no longer an option. Inside the flagship, Vaughn's soldiers screamed. They scrambled over each other, trying to reach escape pods that wouldn't launch, systems that refused to respond. The ship was dead already, it simply hadn't fallen yet. Lena pressed her hand harder against the glass. She felt her throat tighten. Please, finish it. These people have suffered too long. As if hearing her, the obsidian dawn pulsed once. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of firing, the warship broadcast a new message, one directed not at the Vaughn, but at Astra 9. A voice came through, still cold, still controlled, but carrying something else beneath it. Something painfully human. Astra 9, you survived longer than anyone expected. You held the line. You protected your own. Now let me do the rest. Lena's lips parted. The voice, there was something familiar in it. A tone. A warmth buried under steel. A memory of a name she had once heard years ago, in a story, in a rumor about a commander who disappeared without a trace. Behind her, a child whispered, "He sounds like he knows us." Marcus closed his eyes. "Because he does." Lena turned sharply. "What do you mean?" Marcus exhaled. "Because the one who commands the Obsidian Dawn was born here. On Astra 9. Shock crashed through Lena like electricity. The ship's core brightened. The Vaughn flagship screamed. And the truth settled over the colony like a revelation. The Obsidian Dawn wasn't just saving Astra 9. It was coming home. The truth settled over Astra 9 like a shockwave that didn't shake the ground but shook every heart inside the bunker. The commander of the Obsidian Dawn, born here? On this forgotten colony? On this broken land where people now clung to life? Commander Lena felt the world tilt. She stared up at the massive warship hovering above the dying Vaughn flagship, its blue energy veins glowing like living lightning beneath black metal skin. For days she had begged for help, prayed for anyone, even a small patrol craft, to come. But instead, a legend returned. A ghost. A man so dangerous Earth had erased him from history. Now he was saving his home. The Obsidian Dawn shifted again, its wings expanding slowly like a creature preparing to strike. Each movement sent ripples of power across the sky, making the bunker lights flicker even though they were unplugged. Children covered their ears, sensing the weight of something far beyond their understanding. The adults braced themselves. Officers stood straight, breath uneven. Marcus whispered, he didn't forget this place, even after Earth erased him. Lena felt tears sting her eyes. He came back for us. Above them, the Obsidian Dawn lowered toward the burning Vaughn flagship. Metal screamed as gravity distorted around the dread carrier's core. The sky twisted. Clouds bent inward. Even light seemed to warp near the warship. The Vaughn flagship flickered like it was dissolving one molecule at a time. Inside the alien flagship, chaos reached its final breaking point. Cameras from the colony's cracked surveillance towers still captured the madness. Vaughn soldiers stumbling through corridors filled with smoke, officers smashing controls in desperation, escape pods malfunctioning and exploding before launch. Every alien aboard knew the truth. They were not dying to human weapons. They were dying to judgment. Every speaker inside the bunker cracked alive again. The human commander spoke. But this time, the voice was different. Not cold. Not distant. It carried grief. Astra 9. I left you once. I won't leave you again. Lena felt her heart break a little. The children behind her leaned forward, as if the voice alone wrapped around them like a protective blanket. The adults cried openly now, tears of exhaustion, pain, hope, everything mixed into one. Then the Obsidian Dawn rose higher, its massive underside glowing with a symbol Lena had never seen before, a broken star surrounded by a circle of fire. The symbol pulsed, and the dread carrier released a wave of energy that did not explode outward. It collapsed inward, dragging the Vaughn flagship toward it like gravity obeyed the warship instead of physics. The flagship groaned. Metal tore apart. Engines screamed. The Vaughn tried firing one last desperate barrage, but the shots fell apart mid-air like they hit invisible walls. The Obsidian Dawn tightened its grip. The flagship cracked down the middle with a sound that echoed across the entire colony. Children gasped. Adults covered their mouths. Lena felt her legs weaken. The human commander's voice came again, softer now, almost comforting. "Stand back. The last Vaughn ships belong to me." The ground vibrated as the Obsidian Dawn released the flagship, letting it fall like a dead giant toward the atmosphere. Flames swallowed it instantly. Burning metal streaked across the sky like dying stars. The crash shook Astra 9 to its core, sending dust rolling across the barren fields. Silence followed. A silence filled not with fear, but with breathless relief. The Obsidian Dawn hovered calmly, watching the destruction like a guardian making sure the night stayed safe. The dread carrier extended landing struts, long, sharp legs that pierced into the dirt with thunder-like force. The bunker walls trembled. Even the mountains around the colony seemed to bow under its weight. Inside the bunker, people began to stand. Slowly, carefully, as if waking from a nightmare they weren't sure had ended. One little girl tugged on Lena's sleeve. "Commander, is the bad stuff over?" Lena knelt to her level, placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, and stared at the giant ship outside. She didn't know the full answer. But she knew what she saw, a human warship lowering itself like a giant protector returning home. "I think," Lena whispered, voice trembling, "someone powerful just saved all of us." The Obsidian Dawn opened a lowering ramp, a long steel path glowing with blue energy. Heavy steam poured down its sides. The air shimmered with heat and light. People held their breath. Everyone leaned forward. A shadow appeared inside the glowing doorway, tall, steady, walking with the confidence of someone who had survived wars the galaxy had never spoken about. His footsteps shook dust loose from the ceiling. The silhouette became clearer, a human, scarred, wearing a long commander's coat with the burning star symbol stitched over the heart. Marcus whispered, voice cracking with awe, "I don't believe it, after all these years." Commander Lena rose to her feet, staring, frozen in place. When the man stepped fully into the light, the bunker erupted in soft gasps and choked sobs. He was real. Alive. Human. And he looked at Astra 9 with eyes that carried 1,000 battles and one truth he never forgot: this was home. He reached the bottom of the ramp, wind brushing his coat, blue energy reflecting off his face. He spoke softly, but his voice carried across the entire colony. "Your fight is over. Humanity stands with you." People cried. Some fell to their knees. Some held each other and sobbed uncontrollably. For the first time in 7 days, Astra 9 felt safe. And the commander of the Obsidian Dawn, long lost, long feared, long whispered about, had come back not as a monster, but as their shield. The air around Astra 9 felt different now, warmer, lighter, as if the planet itself finally exhaled after holding its breath for 7 long, brutal days. The Obsidian Dawn stood anchored to the ground like a towering guardian forged from night and fire, its massive hull still humming softly with the fading echo of battle. The Vaughn were gone. The screams, the alarms, the hopeless prayers whispered in dark corners, all replaced by a silence so peaceful, it felt unreal. Inside the bunker, people hesitated before stepping out, almost afraid the moment they touched the sunlight, the nightmare would return. But when the heavy bunker door slid open and fresh air swept inside, carrying the scent of dust, metal, and something like freedom, a wave of trembling relief washed through the survivors. Commander Lena was the first to step out. She raised a hand against the light, blinking as her eyes adjusted. For 7 days, the sun had felt meaningless. Today, it felt like a blessing. Behind her, children peeked from behind adults' legs, their little fingers clutching fabric, their eyes locked onto the massive warship waiting outside like a sleeping titan. Officers stepped out next, rifles lowered now, no longer weapons of fear but symbols of survival. Citizens held hands as they walked into the open, staring in awe at the giant vessel that had rewritten their fate. And standing at the bottom of the ramp, the man who commanded it watched them with steady, calm eyes. His coat fluttered in the warm wind, the symbol of the burning star glowing faintly over his heart. Scars marked his jaw and brow, silent stories of battles fought far from this world. Yet his gaze softened as he watched his people emerge from the bunker, as if each face reminded him why he fought so fiercely. Lena approached him slowly, her legs shaking with every step. She wanted to speak, to thank him, to ask 1,000 questions, but when she finally stood in front of him, all the words died in her throat. The man offered a faint smile, not wide, not dramatic, just enough to show he recognized her pain, her exhaustion, her strength. "You did well," he said softly. "Astra 9 still stands because of you." Lena swallowed hard, her voice trembling as she whispered, "We thought we were forgotten. We thought no one was coming." The commander's eyes narrowed, not in anger but in something deeper, regret mixed with a promise. "I was far," he said, "but not blind. I heard your distress signal 7 days ago, and I came as fast as this ship could carry me. You were never forgotten." Behind Lena, a small boy stepped forward, wiping his nose with his sleeve. He stared up at the towering human commander with innocent awe. "Sir, you saved us. You saved all of us." The commander knelt down, lowering himself to the boy's eye level. The giant, terrifying force who destroyed an entire alien fleet moved with surprising gentleness as he placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "No," he said softly. "You all saved yourselves. I only finished the fight." The boy nodded slowly but then asked the question that made the entire colony fall silent. "Will the bad aliens come back?" The commander looked toward the sky, where trails of ash from the destroyed Vaughn ships still floated like quiet ghosts. For a moment, he didn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice carried a weighted certainty. "No. They won't return. Not while I'm here." The crowd murmured in relief. Some people hugged. Some cried openly. The fear that had lived in their bones for days finally loosened its grip. Marcus walked up next, leaning slightly on a walking stick, exhaustion pulling at his face but hope lighting his eyes. "I thought the Obsidian Dawn was a myth," he said quietly. "Something hidden so deep even scientists whispered about it only in shadows." The commander's gaze darkened slightly. "It was hidden. For good reason." "What reason?" Lena asked, stepping closer. "Why did Earth hide you? Why erase a ship like this?" He stood slowly, turning his eyes toward the massive hull of the Obsidian Dawn. His expression softened with a mix of pain and pride. "Because this ship was built for one thing, total survival. At any cost. And I was chosen to guide it. To merge with it. To become something beyond a normal commander." The survivors listened in stunned silence. "It scared Earth," he continued. "Scared them how much power one human could wield. Scared them what could happen if the ship fell into the wrong hands. So they erased the Obsidian Dawn from records. They erased me. Sent us into the void." He looked back at Astra 9, at the broken buildings, the scared children, the tired faces. "But I always remembered where I came from." Lena felt a tear roll down her cheek. "You came back for us." "I came home," he corrected, voice heavy with emotion he rarely allowed himself to show. Suddenly, a faint alarm echoed from the Obsidian Dawn, soft, not dangerous, more like a reminder. The commander tilted his head slightly, listening to something only he could hear. Then he turned back to the survivors. "There is more work to do," he said. "The galaxy will feel what happened today. And not all will stay silent." Fear flickered in Lena's eyes. "You mean, more enemies?" "Perhaps," he answered. "Or perhaps allies. But either way, Astra 9 will no longer be alone." He extended a hand toward her. Not as a commander. Not as a savior. As someone returning to the place that shaped him. "Stand with me," he said. "We will rebuild. We will protect. We will show the galaxy what humans do when cornered." Lena took his hand. Around them, survivors slowly gathered, stepping closer, forming a circle of unity around their returned guardian. The children moved first, followed by the old, then the young, then the warriors. Even the broken buildings seemed to lean in, listening. The commander looked at all of them, at his people, at his home. And then he said the words that would echo through the galaxy in the days to come. "You were never forgotten. And you never will be again. Humanity stands with Astra 9, now and forever." Behind him, the Obsidian Dawn lit its engines slightly, not for war, but like a lighthouse shining over its harbor. For the first time since the siege began, the colony felt whole again. And as the sun set behind the mountains, painting the sky in gold and blue, one truth stood unbroken. No rescue had been coming, until humanity made one. And that rescue became the beginning of something far greater.